really love to invite you to make this a very interactive session. So I would love if you could just in the chat here write down your name just quickly, and I'll write down mine as well. Write down your name. I just would like to see who is here online, and I just would like to get to know you a little bit. Unfortunately, I cannot be in person with you. So I just would like to hear from you who has joined in today and what are your names. Fantastic. Hello. Nice to meet you. Wow. Fantastic. Many people dialing in here today. Such a pleasure to meet so many of you. Beautiful. And I tell you, I hope I can go to Myanmar one day again. I have been there many years ago, and hopefully we have in the future a chance to do this in person. It would be a fantastic opportunity. Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Wow, so many people. Well, it's wonderful to meet you all, and thank you for the kind introduction. As you have heard, I have had the chance to work for many years as a leader in small organizations and in large organizations, and also in many different countries. And what I have experienced is that leadership is the same in any country and in any culture. There are really a couple of elements that are really important when it comes down to leadership. So I've prepared a little presentation to share with you, and I really want to make this interactive. So if you have any questions, just write it down in the comment section, or just comment. If you have also an experience, just comment it below. How does that sound? Right. Okay. Let me share my screen. Can my screen be seen? Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right. So today what I want to see is I want to see how I can help you to unlock leadership potential within you. Because you know what? We all already have leadership ingredients in us. It's not something that we need to learn out of the skies. It's in us. Sometimes we just don't know it, and sometimes we don't know where to search for. So today I just want to give you a bit of guidance of how to unlock that leadership potential that is within you. I'll just grab my phone to make sure I'm not going to talk too much and stick to the time. All right. So why is leadership important? And I want to appreciate that this meeting has particularly been organized by Dr. Mio in the organization of Women in Tech. Leadership is really important, particularly in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics sector, because women have been historically underrepresented in this segment, and women are still underrepresented in leadership roles. And now that so many new technologies are being developed, it is important to have also women included in those developments in order to integrate their perspective and to share lots of different perspectives that can make products and services for everyone together. So it's really about how can we also integrate the female perspective in all of these new developments. The challenge with leadership is really a couple of challenges, namely, the question is really we need to ask us, what is holding us back from leadership, right? And there are a couple of factors that hold us back from leadership. One question that I'm often asked is, Pamela, where do I start? I know I want to become a leader, but where do I actually start? And that's a difficult question because we often just don't know what's the first step. Sometimes once we're further down the road of leadership, it's easier to get the next steps. But the very first steps are often a bit more difficult. The second challenge is that we don't often have guidance. And some of you might have experienced in your first leadership roles or leadership experiences. Leadership comes also with difficult situations, whether it's conflict between people, whether it's making difficult decisions, or whether it's completely unexpected situations and we don't know how to handle them. So sometimes we just don't have the right guidance to help us to find the right path. And the third aspect is sometimes we don't have an opportunity to practice our leadership skills. So today, what I want to do is I really want to help you and give you advice on these three areas, to give you a couple of steps of where to start, to give you a guidance for the first start, and also to show you at the end where you can find opportunities to lead where you are right now at your current stage of life. So I would like to start with the question, what is leadership? And maybe here I would like to hear from you. This is really a bit of a brainstorming session. Just write in the comments below, what is leadership to you? What does it mean to you? Because we all have very different perspectives of what leadership could be. What have you heard about it? When does leadership start? Do you have already an idea? What does it mean to you? Or who is a leader for you? Leading when needed. Thank you, Jinjin. Leading when needed. Yes, sometimes leadership is in a situation. A situation comes up and we need to show up as a leader. Absolutely. It's particularly the case in challenging situations, moments of a crisis, or something comes up and someone needs to pick up the leadership. Leading to the goal with the team, absolutely. Leadership is about leading in a certain direction. There's a goal. And how do we lead people in that direction? Leading the group and well organization for this group, absolutely. It's about leading also efficiently towards that goal. Thank you. Thank you for this comment. Please, responsibility. I like that too. Responsibility is a value, right? It's taking on that responsibility for the people that we lead. It's not just about standing in front and being a leader, but we actually take responsibility for others as well. Leading the group of people, organization, and other. Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. So let's go back to where we were. I hope to find the right slide. So there's one quote that I really like, and I'm going to share this with you, which is about leadership, because there's a lot of ways of how we can define leadership. But there's one quote that I really, really like. And it's a quote about give instructions, do well together. I love that. Yes, it's about doing well together. We want to be efficient. And at the same time, I think we also want to have a bit of fun, right? So this is a quote that I really like, and it's about John Quincy Adams. And the quote says, this is basically his definition of leadership. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. And I'll repeat it again because I love this so much. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you become a leader. What do you think about these words? How does this resonate for you? Some of the elements. When you had a leader, did you recognize some of the elements in your leader? Who inspired you to dream more? Who inspired you to learn more? Has anybody inspired you to become more? Your father, beautiful. Very often, it's in our family that we experience for the first time leadership. Our parents. Yes. Who else inspired you in your life to be more, to dream more? It can be people also outside of our family. But isn't it interesting? It does not always have to be an organizational leader. Yeah. And this is what I want you to take away today. Your architect, she's calm and clever, beautiful. Your manager from work, fantastic. And also, really, it's about not just to do more, right? Because often at work, it's about doing. It's about also becoming more. And it's about dreaming more, about imagining more. Because when we imagine more, we can also expand the vision of what's possible. Then we can create space for innovation. So it's really those many different fields of how we can expand the view of what is possible for others and for our team or for our family. It's basically about a unit. So I love this quote so much that I will use this quote as the basis for the remaining presentation, because it really helps me to break it down into the most important elements of leadership. And I just love flowcharts. So what I'll do is I have created a flowchart that basically shares the core elements of this quote. Basically, if we take the quote, it really says you are a leader when your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more. So you see, we're dealing here with 4 elements. And those 4 elements are the essential elements for leadership. Leadership can be really difficult when you ask some people, what do I need to do to become a great leader? Then, wow, everybody has lots of different ideas. But today I want to break it down to the very basic elements, because you will see that by understanding these basic elements, that will help you to apply it to any situation in your life. All right. So I will use this model now as we go through each of those elements going forward. And again, I invite you to really brainstorm together with me. Let's start with others. Who is it that we can inspire in our life to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more? Who is it that we can inspire? What do you think? The younger generation, fantastic. Yes, the younger generation continuously looks up to us. Children always imitate the behaviors they see in us. So yes, absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you. The younger generation. We are a role model for the younger generation. Famous person. Yes, they can also be inspired by us. Absolutely. Who else can we inspire? The people who work with us. Yes. And it doesn't matter whether they're junior, higher, hopeless people. Yes, we can give people hope. We can help them to see and dream more again. There's always hope. I love that. That's a fantastic aspect. Thank you. I will actually add that to my presentation in the future. Yes. So you see, it really goes beyond. Some people think that leadership is about just leading the team and leading subordinates. But no, we can actually really lead in all directions, because we can inspire anybody. People who are younger than us, people who are older than us, our peers, people who have lost hope, people who might also have different lives than us. I like that as well. Give better life than ours. And learning from other people's era as well. Fantastic. Friends, kids, relatives. Yes. So many groups that we have in our lives, right? You see how leadership is actually everywhere in our life. It's not just work. We can absolutely inspire everyone's. Orphans, absolutely. And it breaks my heart. No person should grow up without a family. So yes, we can give them hope. We can give them dreams, and we can guide them as well. Thank you so much for your valuable input. So yes, others is really a big field. There's a lot of people who we can inspire to dream more and become more. So you see, initially I had typed in 4, but now with your wonderful input, we could really create a much, much longer list in here, because there are many more people that we can inspire. Yes, we can inspire our friends. So many friends that we have. So the takeaway I would like you to take from this slide is leadership can be found in any situation, in any circumstance. It's everywhere. So with that, we actually have the opportunity to be a leader in any circumstances, right? It's everywhere. We can find it everywhere. We just need to be open our mind to what leadership is, namely to inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more. At any time, if you have any questions or comments, just feel free to add them in the comment section. I'm reading them as we go through. Now, let's move on to the other element, namely the aspect of to dream more, learn more, do more, become more. And when I started earlier and I asked the question, what does leadership mean to you? Someone said it's about a goal, about leading towards the goal, right? More. What does more mean? More than today, more than yesterday. What else comes to your mind when you think about dreaming more, learning more, doing more, becoming more? What else does that mean for you? It's encouraging, yes. It's very encouraging, right? There's hope. There's a possibility for more. Who could have thought that that little word, more, can be so inspiring? There is actually more. What else comes to mind when you think about dreaming more, learning more, becoming more? We can become more, not only as professional, but also as individuals. Future, yes. Not be stuck in the past, but where do we want to go in the future? Yes, I like that. What else comes to mind? So there are a few more things that include, yes, now I see the comments. Thinking that kind of thing every day in our life that lead to our path a good way. Yes, every day we can make little steps towards that path. Letting know the ability and potential. There is potential in everyone and in everything we do. And that's why the title of the presentation was Unlocking Your Leadership Potential, because it's there. It's there. It just wants to be let out, right? So that part of allowing and helping others to dream more and learn more is about sharing a vision. We need to be able to say, hey, you could be here. We need to share with people, hey, we could create this. There's more. It's about sharing a vision and not to be stuck in the past, but where we could go in the future. And it's also not just to show, hey, we could be there, but also to support people with the steps on going towards that path, right? Because if we don't provide the support, that goal could be too far away. So the support is also important, the guidance. And what it ultimately shows, it's that we care. And that's an important part of leadership. It's actually caring about people. The best leaders in the world are those that profoundly care about the person. It's not those that just care about money or about status or big titles, but it's those that care about people, about their needs, about their problems, about their dreams, about how we can support them. Because if we understand the people, then we can also talk to them in a language that helps to support them to go towards that vision. So one of the most important elements is that it's about caring and really helping people towards getting to a vision. And it's also about understanding what could that vision be, right? Because if I cannot see what's the future, what could we do, if I cannot expand my view, it's going to be difficult for me to help others to grow. So I also need to continuously work on myself and expand my view, my knowledge, surround myself with people who inspire me so that I can share that inspiration with others as well. Okay. The next step is if we now look at your actions, and your actions is something that is a very profound element of leadership. Your actions, and I will speak from me, so my actions is guided by everything that is inside me. That is my values, my strengths, my history as a person, right? All the things that I have experienced, all the professional experience as well as personal experience and skills. And I understand that you have done quite a bit of this already in a previous session. I think it was in the career session, where you have explored self-awareness as well. And here we really need to dive deep into understanding ourselves as a leader, namely, who am I? What are my values? What are my strengths, my personality, skills? And like I said, even further, what are my experiences? Why do you think that is important? Why is self-awareness for a leader so important? What do you think? Do you have any ideas? For example, why is it important to know what my values are? Why is it important, my personality? Right? It's important because, for example, if we stick to values for a second, everything we do, our values shine through in everything. So, for example, one of my values is respect. So, respect shines through in everything we do, in the way I communicate with people, in the way I treat people, in the way I connect with people. If someone's value is, for example, growth, they will be talking a lot about learning and growing. So every person is just wired in a different way and has different priorities. So it's very important that we know, how do we actually, who are we and what's inside of us? Yes, in order to know how should we lead people, absolutely. To use the right way by judging those values, absolutely. Because our values can be very, very different. The leader should be an idol, absolutely, right? So if we don't know who we are, it's going to be really difficult to be authentic as well. Because if we're not grounded in who we are, we might think, oh, as a leader, maybe I need to be a tough person and I need to be strict. No, you don't need to be any of that. You can be yourself and be authentic to yourself and lead with your values. And that can be, particularly as a woman in STEM, can be sometimes a bit challenging, because when we're the only woman in the room, sometimes we may feel the pressure, do I need to behave like a man, right? Do I need to speak like a man? And certainly I have felt that pressure in the past. I even thought maybe I need to even dress like a man. I used to dress very much like a man with, dark suits and so on. But I have really found that no, I can be authentic to myself, and I can be the leader that I am with my values, also with my clothes, my style, and my communication pattern. So self-awareness becomes really important. I'm looking at other comments. Yes, the core value would help us from getting lost from so many depression and destruction. Absolutely. We can get lost. If I don't know what I stand for, how shall I inspire people? So first, I need to know what I stand for. And that's also really important in situations that are difficult. We mentioned earlier, someone said earlier that leadership comes up from difficult situations, right? When we have to step up. And if you are in a really difficult situation, sometimes it's difficult to know what's the right path. Yeah. And that's where our values can guide us. So, for example, I have sometimes been in really difficult situations where there was a lot of conflict in teams. But because I know that my value is respect, I could always lean on that value and say, hey, we're going to resolve this in a very respectful way, and then help everyone to calm down and find back to a constructive way of dealing. So, understanding our values helps us as a guide through unexpected situations or through difficult moments as well. Have you had a chance to find your values? I would love to hear from you. Can you just write down in the comments, what's one or two values that are really important to you that you might have already identified? Leaders should know personal and work. Yes, shouldn't, absolutely. So I've shared with you, one of my values is respect. Another value of mine is growth. I just like continuous growth, personal growth and learning. What are some of your values? What's important to you? Yes, empathy and sympathy, absolutely. Very important. Yeah. So as you can see, our values are really important. Mutual respect. Yes, it's a give and take. I give you respect. And with that, I also would like to invite respect. We need mutual respect if we want to work together, also in difficult situations. Create trust. Trust is really important. Why? We need to be able to trust each other because particularly teamwork, if we come back to the work environment, relies on being able to trust. I need to trust that you're going to help me with your input because I need to rely on your input for me to build on it further, right? Trust is important if we want to achieve the teamwork. Non-discrimination, incredibly important as well. We can only create trust and we can only create effective teams if we include everyone, right? We have to build inclusive environments. If we don't build inclusive environments, if we exclude someone, we're really losing that talent. We're not including those ideas, those beautiful ideas that could help us to be more and become more. Loyalty, communication, wonderful values. Thank you so much. So you've seen a very big element is really understanding ourselves, self-awareness. And why is self-awareness also important? There's one more component why self-awareness is critical, particularly when we're the minority as women in STEM. It helps us to enhance our confidence. Yeah. And when we feel like we're in a situation where we feel, I don't feel confident, maybe because I'm in a new job or a new industry, it's always good to remind myself of, hi, I actually do have a contribution to make, to remind myself of, I do have strengths that I can contribute. I do have experience that I can contribute. So being self-aware of your value, of your contribution, also helps you to build up your confidence. And that's a really important element to be a leader as well, because how can I inspire others to be more, to become more, if I don't believe it myself? If I have self-doubt, that's going to be difficult. I will not be credible. So that's why self-leadership is so important, because I need to be grounded in the belief of what I can contribute. And then I can inspire others to follow me and to also unlock the potential within themselves. So to become a leader, the first step is actually self-leadership and focus on our own. And to gain that clarity of the beautiful contributions that we bring to this world. And every person has strengths, very unique strengths. Each of us has a unique contribution. So it's just having that clarity about what it is. Okay, so the next step is the inspiration. How do we inspire other people? And that obviously has to do with communication, because now we're dealing with two entities, namely myself and others. And that communication or that inspiration really goes through communication. But I can only inspire people if I actually understand them, if I understand where they're coming from, how are they feeling. Let's say if I want to inspire someone to go for a great task and a very challenging task, but if that person is really having a difficult moment, maybe because they had a difficult situation at home, it's not going to be the best day to have that conversation. So if I want to inspire people, I need to understand where they are coming from. I need to understand what are their worries, what are their dreams, what are their aspirations. And I need to be able to listen very actively to that. There's one saying that says, we have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason, namely to listen more than we speak, because we can only understand others and hear others when we truly listen. And truly listening means not just to listen the words that they say. Truly listening means also understanding, why are they asking a question? Yeah. So for example, imagine I once had a team, and a team member asked me, hey, is the company going to cut down jobs? So it's not just the verbal question, are they going to cut down jobs? So my answer is not just no. The question they're asking, or what they're not saying, is I'm scared. I'm scared for me and my family. I cannot afford to lose my job. So as leaders, it's also about understanding the emotions behind words and to help them to eliminate any fears, right? So then I can say, now your job is secure and I know your family situation. So I will always take that into account in company activities. So active listening is more than listening beyond the words. It's understanding where emotions come from. Because that's when we can also help them to guide them towards a vision. And then it's about communicating that very clearly. Yeah. Sometimes we communicate too shortly, especially now in a virtual world. We tend to communicate through WhatsApp or messaging, but then we miss out a lot on the emotions. We can see better the emotions when we see each other. At least we see today each other via video call, but even better when we can, it's to see people face to face, because then the body language gives us additional information. How is the person really feeling? How are they? Are they motivated and energized today? Can we achieve more today? Or does it look like they're going through a hard time? So understanding, again, it goes back to the people are the most important when it comes to leadership, and understanding them. So it really comes down to empathy and creating that. And what it also comes down to is to understand that people are very unique. As you recall earlier, I said self-awareness has so many components. It's about being aware of our values, our strengths, our skills, so many things. Well, the same is true for the other people. The other people also have different values, different strengths, different history. So people are very unique. And that's why we also communicate in different styles. We have different working styles. And often it's really this little arrow that causes a lot of friction, because we're trying to communicate in one way, but the other person hears it differently, because we all filter differently, because we all work and function in a different way. I'll give you one number just to give you an idea of how unique we are. When it comes to strengths, and when we look at our top 5 strengths, the organization Gallup has calculated that the chances that 2 people will have the exact same top 5 strengths is only 1 in 33 million. Only 1 in 33 million will be the same when it comes to strengths. Wow. This just shows you how unique we are. We are very unique. So when someone, for example, tells me, oh, I have this colleague at work and they're very competitive, I tell them, why do you need to compete? There's no need to compete. You can create very different value because you have your set of unique strengths and the other person has a different set of strengths. So again, it comes down to self-awareness. We don't need to compete. We are actually very unique. And that's what's important in understanding when we communicate with each other, because I'm unique, so I will communicate one way, but the other person's unique and they will hear it in a different way. And because we're different, that's when we have sometimes miscommunication, misunderstandings. And that's what we need to be aware of as leaders. And I will give you one example. So let's think about the example. Let's say I'm someone that's very action oriented. I want to jump straight to an action. Let's do things. I have an idea. Let's implement it directly. And if I'm trying to inspire someone who is a planner, it might not work, because the planner is going to say, wait a minute, wait, where are you going? What's the vision? And what are the steps? Why are you jumping to an action? I don't understand. Right? So the person's going to be confused because you did not pick them up where they are. we need to understand, okay, they are a planner. I need to give them the vision first and guide them step by step so that they can follow. People cannot follow if they don't understand us. So it's our responsibility as a leader to understand where are they and to pick them up where they are, meet them where they are. Let's turn the situation around and see what it would be like if we turned it around. Let's say I am the planner now. And as a planner, I want to create a beautiful plan. I want to plan it through every step and the goal and the timelines. What happens now with the other person? If the other person is an action-oriented person, that person's going to say, oh my God, this is taking too long. That person's going to say, my leader doesn't know what she's doing. She has no idea. She's scared. She's too risk averse. So it's going to lead to frustration. So what do you see here? What do you see here? We're having the same two characters and just playing around with the positions. What do you see here? What leads to frustration, confusion? And have you experienced something similar? I'm sure some of you have been in a similar situation where someone frustrates you and you think, oh my God, I don't understand it. They don't get it. I think it happens all the time. So frustration can happen all the time. Conflict can happen all the time. And what's important to understand is it's not because the other person does not want to. It simply is we are different. We are different people. We work and think and communicate in different people. Yes. People making meetings for no particular reasons. Yes. Yes. In meetings, I think a lot of people get frustrated with meetings. Yeah, maybe the people who are constantly calling for meetings, maybe they are someone who needs social support a lot. Yeah. Maybe they are afraid of risks. Or maybe they are someone who are very inclusive and who want to hear the opinion of everyone. So next time that you experience a frustration or you just don't understand a person, try to think about where's that person coming from? Why do they think that way? Because that's going to help you to understand their working style. And what happens when we look to understand the working style of the other person, then we create empathy. And then we can start to align and talk the same language. And that's us as leaders. We need to take on this responsibility to look to understand other people. All right. So if we want to inspire people, it's not just about saying, hey, why don't you become more? Hey, I have a dream. It's about the two-way interaction. I need to listen. I need to be interested in the other person so that I know how do I bring them on board? How can I invite them to join in this joint goal? It's a two-way communication. Yeah. Any questions so far? All good so far? Okay, fantastic. Then let's move on. One question that I want to now move on to the next chapter. One question that I can often ask is, can everybody be a leader? Yeah. Because sometimes we think it's only certain people, you need to be born to be a leader. The answer is very clear. Absolutely everybody can. Yeah. That's why the title of the presentation is Unlocking Your Potential, because as I said, the ingredients are within us. You'll just need to be mindful of those 4 elements that make part of leadership. So the way we can, each of us, become a leader is by understanding, by understanding our individual traits. If we understand self-awareness, who are we, what are our strengths, we can use the strengths that we have to lead. Because like I said earlier, we all have very different profiles. So not everybody is going to lead exactly the same way. So let me share with you what I mean with this. Again, if we take the same model, that's why I love this model, because it helps really in an easy way to explain. If you're very self-aware about your strengths, your values, personality, and skills, you can use them along this chain. So for example, if you're someone who has a very easy way of communicating with people, communicates very clearly, maybe also really good in influencing people, and some people just have really strong communication skills, then you can particularly be good in inspiring people. Then you can use those strengths in the inspiration. If you're someone who has very strong people skills, you might be able to very easily connect with people and network and build relationships. Then you can use that to focus and build on this relationship with others and expand your network and understand, how do they work? How can I really help people to follow me on this journey? If you have other skills, like, for example, you're really strong analytically, you're really good in strategic thinking or in organizational skills and any other, then you'll be able to derive, what is that vision? What is that dream? What other knowledge could I share? How could we organize ourselves better? Then you can use those skills there. So you see, it doesn't need just one skill to lead. You can really look at all the skills and strengths that you need, that you have, and map them. How can I use them on those different areas that together make up a leadership profile? Everybody can lead, but everybody leads from a different perspective, and that's okay. The world would be boring if all of our leaders would be the same. Actually, we need leaders to be different, because we need leaders to help us identify different solutions, different perspectives, different products, different services. We need that diversity of thought. So embrace the unique qualifications that you have and see how you can use them in your leadership. All right, what it all starts with, it's really, and this is where I'm now going to, you might remember at the beginning of the presentation, I said, I'm going to give you immediate steps to start your leadership journey. And the absolute immediate step and the foundation for everything is self-awareness. So build self-awareness about your strengths, your values, personality, skills, your interests and experience. So go back to the presentation that you had with the career expert, because they already explained the very details of that. So you will need to do that anyway when you prepare your CV, for example, or when you prepare for interviews. But as you can see now, it's the foundation for leadership, to have clarity about who are you and what's your profile. So that's something you can start within today. And that basis is also going to help you to appreciate others. Because then, once you're clear about, for example, your strengths and values, you will start to see, what are the strengths and values of others? What are their interests? What's maybe their experience and personal history? So what's the basis here is really, again, people, namely ourselves, with self-awareness, and other people. That is the very basis of our leadership. And that's something that everybody can start today, right? You don't need anything for that. You can start going on that journey by simply asking, for example, other people, hi, what are my strengths? Because sometimes we don't see our own strengths. Our strengths is something that comes so easy to ourselves that we don't identify our strengths. So ask your friends or family, because they will see it. Ask them, what do you think are my strengths? What am I really good at? But also look at, for example, your interests and experience in the past. What were you particularly good at? What makes you you? And really start to write that down and create a one-page profile about who are you and what are the traits that you bring to your leadership journey. And the one more step that I want to give you now to start your immediate journey is really about identifying opportunities to practice. Because sometimes we just wait for a leadership role, right? We wait until we get a leadership position. We wait for that promotion. But I hope that today you have seen we don't need to wait for that. We can actually already find today opportunities to start practicing our leadership. So I'll give you some examples. It could be, and you have mentioned several of those already, with family and friends, We could identify ways for them to grow, whether that's on a personal level, whether that's in their immediate family life, or maybe also help them to develop their professional skills. We could also help colleagues and work colleagues and them doing their work. We can suggest ideas. And the easiest way to start your leadership journey is by identifying and creating ideas. What could we do differently? How could we do things better or quicker or with less costs? Ideas is something that we can generate all the time. It doesn't cost us anything, but it shows your leadership potential. Because as you remember earlier, leadership is about inspiring others to do more, dream more. So the more implies that we have a vision. So start by generating ideas. How could we do things differently? Also mentor someone. Find someone that is either new to your industry, that's starting to study, or maybe you have a younger sibling or younger cousin. Find someone who is looking for guidance, because that's where you can step up immediately into a leadership role. Be that person that they can look up to. Be that person that they can that you can inspire them to become more. And there you will start learning those elements that I've explained, namely, first ask yourself, who am I? What is it that I want to share? What values do I want to share? And understand them. How do they work? What's their way of working? What's their way of communicating? You can really practice all of those elements when you're a mentor. Number 4 is also one that I like, namely review your actions. We continuously, every day, we make up an example. Yeah. And I really notice it. I will tell you from my private life. My mother, she works too hard. And I told her last week, Mom, you work too hard. You should work less. You should take care of your health. And then she turned around to me and she said, but you work hard yourself. So I realized I'm giving the example that we should be working hard all the time. So we need to review our actions and lead by example. And that's also a way of leadership. Be conscious about how do we show up? What are the standards that we create with our actions? And the 5th one is create an initiative. You can create a vision yourself. You can inspire people. You can do that either at work or in your private life. Have a look at what are maybe some challenges your community have, or maybe things that could be improved. And you can then really try and inspire people towards a vision and create an initiative. Just like the initiative of today of how can we bring more women into the tech space, right? A fantastic initiative. It started with a vision, right? So those are some of the ideas that I would like to share with you about how you can start practicing leadership within today. What's important is to recognize you do not need to wait for a position. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait for a role. Find your own opportunities, because the leadership potential and the ingredients, it's already within you. You can really start grabbing it today. You can start practicing it today. There are many opportunities already in your life existing. So those are the points that I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for having me. And I just would like to open the floor for questions with you. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Pamela. It's really a nice talk. Some of the points refresh my mind again, and then some of the points I'm learning new ideas. I hope that the members are also learning. Let's wait some questions from the member first before I start my question. All right.
We have one question here. I would like to know, are there effective ways to boost the confidence within an introvert to become a leader for each day? For example, I have a hard time communicating with people. It usually takes me time to be able to give instructions properly. Yes. That's a challenge that I had as well. I was an extreme introvert. Can you believe it? So 20 years ago, I would not have imagined talking to a large group. So let me tell you a thing. It's like a muscle, it's like a muscle. If we train a muscle, we get better every time. So I would say start small. Start with smaller opportunities to bring in to communicating with people. So if it's difficult for you to speak now to a large group, start practicing and speaking in small groups, maybe just one-on-one. And with that, you're going to gain more confidence than maybe in a group of 5. Maybe one day you feel more confident to present. So really what I want to say is it's actually a practice. And for example, one thing that I did actively to practice also presentation skills, I started working in a museum as a guide because I knew I had to practice to speak in front of people. So it's not a thing of you either have it or you don't have. It's a matter of practicing. Yeah. And what's also important is, again, self-awareness to boost your confidence. Be aware of what is your contribution. Because one thing that helped me also to speak up was to understand in a critical situation, nobody was seeing the real problem. And that's when I realized, oh my God, if I don't raise this now, we will not be working on the real issue here. So be clear on your contribution, because that's going to give you the confidence that you actually matter. Your voice and your ideas and your contributions matter. And that's what I realized with myself. I matter. My contribution is important. And since then, I haven't had any issues anymore because I was so clear about my contribution. But start small. Give yourself the time to grow step by step. You don't need to do a keynote speak right away. Start in small groups and slowly expand. For example, you could start with people that you're more familiar with. Try at home with friends, right? Start small. Find ways that are comfortable. You're most welcome. Another question. So maybe I can ask everyone a question. Yeah, here we have a question. How can we communicate with people who are not likely to talk about their feeling, especially with introverts? Yes. We don't always need to go into feelings. Feelings is the hardest part. We actually protect our feelings, right? And do you notice something? What am I holding? I'm holding my heart because our feelings are here and we want to protect that because we don't want to be hurt, right? So not everybody is comfortable with sharing the feelings, but you can start to get to know other people by sharing their interests. Hey, what interests you? What did you do this weekend? What are you reading? Why is this book interesting for you? Why is it important? So we can try and understand people by going through the interests, their priorities, and maybe later down the road, feelings. People often communicate, they share what right now they feel comfortable to share. So give them the space to share what they're ready to share right now. Later on, you can go deeper. Next question. I want to know how to support others like my kids or my hubby to get leadership skills. Well, it really comes down to so if you want to inspire them to develop leadership skills, what you can do is you basically really need to give them a task. So if it's at home, for example, it could be the household, right? You could say, hey, I want to organize, for example, a family activity or a family festivity. Give them a task and say to your kids, for example, okay, you're going to be responsible for inviting family members, and I would like you to invite as many people as possible. And give them the space for them to be creative about how to do the invitation. Helping people to develop leadership really is about giving people the opportunity, trusting in their skills. And like I said, be there for whenever they have questions, but give them the opportunity. Often at home, particularly as women, we tend to do everything. And that has two issues. One, we overwork ourselves, but second, we don't give others the opportunity to contribute. So give them a task and let them do. One more question here. What should I do if I don't like your leader? Yeah, his behavior and manner are different with me than others. That is an issue. And unfortunately, I've seen that as well. So one thing that's important is to understand that if it's not being discussed, it's just going to become worse. The friction's going to become worse. You're going to be more demotivated. Yeah, things are not going to change. So it actually needs to be addressed. And I understand it can be difficult if it's someone in a very high position, right? But here's where we also need to be brave. So what I would suggest is if it's someone that you feel comfortable to talk to directly, take them aside in a private room and say, you can say, for example, hey, do you remember when you did this? Whatever they did, whether they talked to you disrespectfully, then you can give them feedback and say, it made me feel disrespected. Yeah. And then you can say, look, I know you're a great leader that I really look up to, but I just wanted to give you the feedback that I did not feel well that day. And I hope we can find different ways of how to collaborate together. And that's it. So sometimes we just need to give people the feedback because sometimes we don't notice, I have done the same. Sometimes I've been maybe too harsh with some people. And because I was stressed, sometimes when we're stressed, we just act in a way that is not nice. It's not always because we want to treat someone badly. Stress can do a lot of things with us. So if you give them the feedback, maybe that helps them also to recognize that it's not okay. And if that doesn't help, or if you don't feel comfortable talking to them because maybe they are too senior, try to get support. Maybe you can talk to someone who is in the same team and who trusts you and who you trust, and talk to them and say, hey, I've had this situation. How could we walk around that? Because I obviously don't know the exact situation you're in, but bring in support. We don't need to solve issues on our own. Get support, get someone to help you. Even already a second opinion will be helpful. I hope that helps. How could we overcome and persuade the difficult participants in the group? The aggressive participant. Yeah, sometimes we do have those as well. The question is to understand, why are they aggressive? Yeah. And again, it comes down to empathy. Some people are aggressive because they're scared. They're scared that if they are not aggressive, that they will think they might lose their job. Some people think being aggressive is a leadership skill, right? So again, first, maybe try to understand where are they coming from. And then again, depending on the situation, you could try and give them feedback separately. Always give feedback in a one-on-one, not in a group. But if that's not possible, what you could also have a conversation with is in the group, you could start having a conversation with a couple of other like-minded people where together you could maybe have something like talk about, okay, you could start a workshop about what are some things we could do differently in the team, gather ideas, right? And one of those ideas could be about how could we improve collaboration further? And then one of the ideas that then come out is, well, we could be more respectful with each other, and for example. So there's never one golden solution. It's about trying to find different ways because people are so different. So that's why I cannot give you one golden rule. Just try different ways of how to solve that problem. Okay. What's one more thing that's important for me to say? If you are the only one that's constantly receiving aggression, you need to get support because otherwise we can lose so much energy. It can be very draining. And I have had those experiences as well. So always find support, whether that's HR or whether that's a colleague. And if a situation is really absolutely not bearable, we actually need to tell people to stop and to say, hey, this behavior is no longer acceptable. Because we are responsible for how others treat us. If we allow them to treat us badly, then we're allowing it. Then they are happy, right? Because they're going to say, hey, it's okay, the person's not complaining. So we need to tell people, hey, here's the line. We can start friendly by saying, look, I'm sure you did not intend to do this, but I want to let you know how I felt. But if they don't respect it still, then we can draw a line and say, this is no longer acceptable. Another question, how to communicate with your angry leader due to her personal matter? How to suggest and positively, the unclear instruction, When someone is angry, it's usually because there's an emotion inside. When they're angry, it's because, like you say, there's a personal matter or there's fear. So what happens when we're angry, right? When we're angry, we're in that emotion. No matter what someone tells me in that emotion is going to help me to calm down. So the first step is give them space. Give them space to calm down, because otherwise they cannot listen. Think about yourself in a situation where you were angry. Whatever someone says, you cannot listen. So give them space to calm down. Give them a day or two. And then go back to them, and you can talk to them again in a private conversation. You can say, hey, I noticed that this topic was really important to you. I noticed you were very passionate about this topic, or I noticed in your communication, I could see that there was a lot of value for you. And you can say, and I appreciate that. But it made me feel uncomfortable. Going forward, could we maybe handle this differently? How could we do it differently? Leave it up to them. What we want is we want to show them that it's not okay how they're reacting, and give them the chance to step up as well. Yeah, but solving angry people in the moment is never possible. It's like a train coming towards you. You cannot stop the train. Let the train pass and talk to them a few days later. Beautiful. All right. So as we come closer towards the end, I just would like to hear from you. What is one thing that you've learned today? What's one thing that was valuable to you that you're going to take with you and that you're going to start implementing straight away?
For me, when you were sharing about your mom and your experience, I think I'm also in the same position like you. Sometimes I didn't intend to pressure the people working with me, but because I'm overworking, I think people got pressure because of me. So I think this is something I have to manage myself, and how not to show them I'm overworking, or I have to reduce my workload as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes, we lead by example, right? And it's amazing. We have never told them you have to do that, but that's what they see, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. What else have people learned? What's one takeaway from you? Or what's a situation where you can start, where will you start practicing your leadership skills now?
Yeah, maybe I will share with the same interest with other people for me. Yeah, because communication is supporting our work.
Yes, it really is. The communication has really the possibility to make or break things. So we have to be very conscious of our words. Yeah. We do have one more question here. How can I release the trauma I got from the aggressive leader? I mean, sometimes when I communicate to others, it made me afraid. Yes. When we have truly severe situations, it can really create a trauma. It can stop us from growth. And it's not fair to you, because you are brilliant and you deserve to live your life. So if you really feel it's a trauma, I would suggest get some specialized help to get rid of that trauma, because that trauma is not yours. is the energy of others. Find ways of getting rid of it if it's so much in your heart, because otherwise it will be heavy on your heart, and I don't want you to live with that. You deserve to have a brilliant future.
All right. I think we are getting a bit late in Myanmar as well. And then thank you so much, Pamela, for spending such a wonderful time with us and then giving us amazing talk. All right. So the audience and participants, if you have more questions regarding the leaderships, definitely we will ask for the feedback at the end of all our training sessions. I will share with Pamela if we need to have more leadership training and something that we can work out. We were trying to work out for all the women in technology in Myanmar and those who joined this workshop. And thanks again, Pamela, for spending time. I know you are very busy. So thank you again, and then we will keep in touch. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thank you all so much. And thank you for staying on so long. I know it's been really long in Myanmar times. I'm sorry it was not possible for me to join earlier. I really appreciate your commitment and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.